I came across a video the other day where the speaker basically says that Hispanic people or people from Mexico basically just got here yesterday and they come into this country and reap the benefits of the civil rights movement that others have worked for without having contributing anything themselves. The video is a reaction from YouTube influencer Officer Tatum on a CNN panel debating illegal immigrant deportations. Take a look.
People who were brought here as slaves who came to this country illegally.
They're not the same as black people who were brought here against our will.
That's exactly what I just said. I said there is a
There is a big difference.
You think I would say I will have...
Y'all better stop playing with us. And I wish that black people start standing up. D.L. Hughley and all these other people. Hispanic people and black people's immigration story ain't the same. We don't have the same history. You show me a water fountain that says no Mexicans or no, it didn't exist. Black people had to go through all of this stuff. Black people built the railroads and had to do all of this stuff and now get an opportunity to have equal rights. We couldn't vote, we couldn't do all of this stuff. Y'all come over here 30 minutes ago and get everything we work for. Didn't no civil rights move. Black people died for that. The Civil War, black people died in it. You name it. We've been fighting over it all this time. And then you get to come over here and reap the benefits of all of that. You're going to miss me with that.
Now, just to be fair, this is not a knock on Officer Tatum's channel or his viewpoints in general, as I myself have enjoyed some of his content from time to time. This is also not an argument for illegal immigration. However, I have to take issue with the statement in general, and the reason I do so is because it paints a false narrative. Now, I've heard similar remarks before from time to time, and some people take it as absolute truth, so I decided to provide a response. To begin, I want to point out that African Americans, or Americans of West African descent, have a unique history in the U.S., and that history has been one of immense struggle that's uncomparable. There's also no doubt that the civil rights movement was primarily an African American undertaking, and that has to be respected. Having said that, it doesn't mean that Hispanic people are just some newcomers or freeloaders in this country, and that they just have taken or benefited from the works of others without contributing. Nothing could be further from the truth. Due to time, I'm just going to make 3 points to refute most of his statement, and I'm going to use history to do so. But before we begin, we need to understand that the Hispanic population in the U.S. is about 19 to 20% of the total population. And within that Hispanic population, you have diverse groups that include Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, Dominicans, etc., with Mexican Americans making up the bulk of that population at about 63%. Also, Mexicans largely have been the face of the whole illegal or undocumented immigrant debate. Because of this, my 3 points were focused primarily on Mexico and Mexicans. Point number 1, Hispanics just got here 30 minutes ago. The history of Mexico and the United States is deeply intertwined, marked by periods of cooperation, conflict, and complex interdependence. In the early 19th century, both nations emerged from colonial rule. The U.S. from Britain in 1776 and Mexico from Spain in 1821. Their relationship quickly grew tense as American settlers moved into Mexican territories such as Texas, eventually leading to the Texas Revolution and Texas annexation by the U.S. in 1845. This directly triggered the Mexican-American War, which ended with the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. As a result, Mexico lost about half of its territory, including present-day California, Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas, dramatically reshaping the map of North America. So just to be clear, Mexicans did not just get here 30 minutes ago. Much of what is the United States today was in fact part of Mexico, And many Mexican Americans today, especially in those states, can trace their roots and family all the way back to that period. Point number 2. Mexican territories were a refuge for U.S. slaves seeking freedom. In the 1800s, Mexican territories became a refuge for enslaved African Americans fleeing the United States, largely because Mexico abolished slavery in 1829, not long after gaining their independence. This made Mexico a potential sanctuary for those escaping bondage, especially from nearby slaveholding states. Enslaved people who managed to cross into Mexican territory often found relative safety and freedom, as Mexican officials generally refused to return them under pressure from U.S. slaveholders. This stood in stark contrast to the Fugitive Slave Acts in the U.S., which required the return of escaped slaves even from free states. Mexico's stance on slavery and its refusal to cooperate with American demands for the return of fugitives made it a symbol of resistance to the institution of slavery. Some towns in northern Mexico became havens for formerly enslaved people, and there were even reports of local Mexican communities protecting escapees. This humanitarian stance angered many in the U.S. South and added to tensions between the two countries. This stance would eventually contribute to Mexico going to war with the U.S. and eventually losing half of its territory. Mexico's anti-slavery stance was a central, though indirect, cause of the Mexican-American War in 1846, rooted in the expansionist ambitions of the United States and the contentious issue of whether new territories would permit slavery. After the U.S. annexed Texas in 1845, tensions with Mexico escalated, since Mexico never recognized Texas independence and opposed its incorporation into the U.S. Southern slaveholders supported the annexation and expansion into Mexican territory, hoping to extend slavery into new lands. Point number 3. Hispanics didn't contribute to the civil rights movement. Hispanics played a crucial and often under-recognized role in the U.S. civil rights movement, particularly through activism for labor rights, educational equity, and protection against discrimination. One of the most iconic contributions came from Mexican-American leaders like Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta, who co-founded the United Farm Workers in the 1960s. They organized nationwide boycotts and nonviolent protests to demand better wages and working conditions for farm workers, many of whom were Mexican or Filipino. Their efforts brought national attention to the exploitation of agricultural laborers and highlighted the broader struggle for Latino civil rights. Beyond labor activism, Hispanic civil rights organizations like the League of United Latin American Citizens fought for desegregation, voting rights, and equal access to education. Landmark legal cases such as Mendez versus Westminster in 1947, which challenged school segregation of Mexican American children in California, laid groundwork for Brown versus Board of Education in 1954. And just for the record, the Brown versus Board of Ed Supreme Court ruling was the catalyst for the civil rights movement. These contributions broadened the scope of the civil rights movement and emphasized the intersection of race, class, and ethnicity in the fight for justice in America. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. Help us to spread this video by sharing. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more videos.